Sometimes the most fascinating stories aren't in big, dusty history books or fancy documentaries. They're actually hidden in plain sight in the most unexpected places you can imagine. And today, we're going to prove it by uncovering a whole community's history from a very unusual source. So I want you to really think about that for a second. What could a local plumber's website possibly tell you about the history of a town? I mean, your first thought is probably nothing, right? Well, what we're about to find out is that the answer is, surprisingly, a whole lot. All right, so our journey doesn't start with some big historical event. Nope. It starts with a problem that I'm pretty sure every single one of us can relate to.
Oh, we've all been there. That horrible moment when you're watching the water in the sink and it just isn't going down. Then you hear that awful gurgling sound coming from the pipes. It's one of those small, everyday disasters that can totally throw your entire day off schedule. It's a universal feeling, really.
So let's take that universal problem and zoom way in to one very specific place where this whole story unfolds. That's right. Our entire source for this whole explainer is a single web page. We're not digging through old archives or town records. We're literally looking at the online home of Dr. Drain, a local plumbing service in Mettawa, Illinois. I know, it sounds pretty mundane, but just stick with me here. It gets good. And to give you an idea of just how small we're talking, Mettawa is not a huge, sprawling city. According to the census data they mention right on the site, the population is just 533 people. A tiny village that, as it turns out, has a really big story.
And this is where things get wild. Because buried right there on the page, probably somewhere between sewer cleaning and sump pumps, is a surprisingly deep dive into the history of the town itself.
So here's the first mind-blowing thing we find. The website tells us that Mettawa was founded back in 1960, but not by developers trying to build a new suburb. Nope, it was founded by conservationists. These were landowners who banded together with, and this is a direct quote, a common goal of protecting their rural area from encroaching commercial development. How cool is that? The town was founded as an act of preservation. But the story goes back even further than that. The name of the town, Mettawa, actually comes from a Potawatomi chief named Mettawa. And the plumber's website itself notes that he was a signer of the Treaty of Chicago in 1833, before his people were forced to leave the area. I mean, that is just such a profound piece of history to find right next to a contact form for drain repair. It's incredible. So the site lays out this whole story arc for us. It starts with the area's deep indigenous roots back in 1833, then jumps to the town's founding on this conservationist mission in 1960. And it even brings us to 2010, when the town celebrated its 50th anniversary and a local group handed out wildflower seeds. It's a whole community chronicle in just 3 key moments. And if that wasn't enough, you have got to see this. For a village of only 533 people, it has had some seriously famous residents. And yeah, you guessed it, this is all listed right there on the plumber's site. We're talking a 2-time presidential nominee, a legendary city planner, a famous news anchor, and not one, but 2 Chicago Bears legends. What is in the water over there? Okay, so what on earth does a town's history and its famous residents have to do with plumbing? Well, this is how we connect the town's unique identity to the actual job of, clearing clogs. This is where it all clicks into place. So the website tells us Mettawa is super rural, it's got 5 forest preserves, it loves its open land. Well, what does all that mean for a plumber? More trees means more aggressive tree roots looking for a way into your pipes. All that beautiful open land has to handle heavy rain, which means you're probably going to need a good sump pump and solid storm drains. All of a sudden, the town's identity is directly linked to its potential plumbing problems. So, knowing the special challenges that a place like Mettawa faces, let's take a quick look at the modern solutions that Dr. Drain actually offers to keep things flowing smoothly. Yeah, this isn't your granddad's plumbing company just showing up with a plunger. The services they list on the site feel like a high-tech, systematic process. First, they do a video inspection to see exactly what's going on down there. Then, they bring out the heavy hitters, things like power rotting or high-pressure hydrojetting, to blast the clog away. And if the pipe itself is damaged, they fix it. It's a very methodical, modern approach to a very old problem. And I have to say, this little gem tucked away at the bottom of the webpage might be my favorite part. It's a little poll that asks, "How did you find us?" And it has a grand total of 3 responses. 3! It's such a tiny human detail that just perfectly sums up the small town charm of this whole story. So, let's zoom back out one last time. What's the real lesson here? What did we actually learn from a plumber's website, of all places? The big takeaway is this: a totally ordinary web page for a local service business turned out to be this incredible window into a community's soul. We learned about its indigenous history, its core conservationist values, and even its celebrity neighbors. It just proves that these amazing, compelling stories really are hiding all around us, usually where we'd least expect to find them. So I'll just leave you with this thought. The next time you're online looking up a local bakery or a mechanic or, yeah, even a plumber, take an extra second. Click on that About Us page. You just never know what kind of amazing story is waiting there for you to discover.